too
Nope,
late.
you're
We're
good.
live.
That's
All right.
fine. That's fine. That's all good. It was something else I was holding on for. Um,
Let's
I've got
clap if you're good.
I've got the list. I've got my links. I've got the list.
The
List.
list.
The list. I've been brainstorming predictions too, but we'll get this started. Let's do this.
That next week. We'll inform people that we're doing that next week. Yeah, let's start in 3, 2, 1. Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 43 of Millennial Gaming Speak. I am your host, Logan Moore, with you once again this week. And with me is Max Roberts.
Hello.
Max. What's
How are
up?
you, Logan?
I'm all right. This is a special episode. You know why this is such a special episode?
Because it's 2 weeks before E3.
Well, there's that. I was gonna say it's because I'm wearing a sock hat and stuff, and I got my big glasses on.
I could, if you really want, I could get my official infamous Second Son beanie.
If you want to, we could make episode 43 the sock hat episode.
The beanie episode.
Is it within reach of you, or are you gonna have to?
It's on a shelf in the distance.
Do
Right
it quietly throughout the episode. Just when I go on a rant talking at some point.
Silently. Well, I'd have to switch my headphones too. I don't like over-ear headphones on with a beanie. It's fine. I'll wear it next time.
We'll make the sock hat episode 40.
We could have sock puppets while we do it.
That's true. We could go all sock one episode. Sock hats, sock puppets, socks on our feet, because that's another way to use socks.
Socks are everywhere. Socks are everywhere. It is, what is today? June 1st.
The start of the month. June.
Yep,
the month.
My birthday is in 4 days.
Oh,
by the time everyone's listening to this, it'll be 3 days.
Maybe. What if they listen to it like 25 years
That's fair. If you're listening to this on the day it releases, it's 3 days.
Hopefully
that's happening, and then in a week after that, it's E3.
That's true. This is June is such a great month because you got your birthday for both of us, and then you got E3, and then you're out of school.
It's great. It's one
downtime to do a whole bunch of nothing. Yeah,
dude, I'm so excited for E3.
I'm getting there. I'm starting to Yeah, so may as well talk about this now. So next week's show, episode 44, it's going to be our predictions episode. We're going to do part 2 of our topics, or our part 2 of our top 10 lists. I forget what it'll be.
It should be the N64.
Yeah, and that
the Saturn and the PS1.
And the Game Boy.
Or is it and Game Boy?
And Dreamcast is in there too, even though I doubt I'll have a Dreamcast game listed. So, but it's still an option.
You have the list written out somewhere.
Yeah, I'll let you know for sure what the official list is later. But next week's going to be part 2 of that, plus our predictions episode for E3, which we have done every year, even though we've only been around for 1 year.
No, I'm super stoked for E3 predictions. That's one of the times it feels very real that it's actually coming. Another thing was Jeff Keighley tweeted out maybe early last week that some trailer for how YouTube is going to do E3 this year.
Yeah, I saw that.
I watched that, and that got the ball rolling for me. I was like, this is E3. And then I got my PlayStation Experience ticket.
I did too, which I was happy about.
For the first time you're going.
I was gonna go last year, and then I had
it was your appendix, right?
Random case of appendicitis. So that was very enjoyable, and I got sidelined, and we still recorded our episodes. I just had to watch them all from home and couldn't leave the house for about a week.
It was, and it's interesting because the technical difficulties to get the tickets happened last year. I remember panicking last year when it happened because, their servers just get slammed. And it said, 1 minute it was tickets are available. The next minute it said sold out. And I remembered that in the moment this year, in the panic that was starting to set, I was like, wait, this happened last year. Just wait. And like half an hour later, I was actually in X-Men Apocalypse. So tickets went live.
Was the movie actually started by that point?
Yeah, no, it was. The movie started at 1, so it was about 20 minutes of previews, and then the movie would have started.
I gotcha. Okay.
But so what happened was I tried in the mall on LTE to get my ticket. Didn't work. And then I'm in the movie. I told my friend who I go with, who went with me last year, I said, call me during the movie when you get your ticket, when it's fixed. And I'll just go to the bathroom and get my ticket then. So
you might have missed the best part of Apocalypse, which was, I don't know, because it was just kind of. It was good. I mean, like.
It was not Days of Future Past.
Quick MGS review of X-Men Apocalypse. Like I said when I tweeted about it after I saw it, it was just kind of a movie. And that sounds like a dumb thing, and you and Brian were making fun of me for it, but it was a movie I saw.
Just because that was just funny.
Yeah, it was just like a thing I saw, and
tonally, it reminded me of the very early superhero movies, like the original X-Men movies, in a weird way. And it's been a while.
That's what Bryan Singer will do for you.
Okay. It just felt like that, but it wasn't Days of Future Past, which is the best X-Men movie in my opinion, and then First Class follows that up.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't miss. I missed Jean's Dream. That's what I missed.
I don't think Sophie Turner's a great actress. Do you? I think she's fine in Game of Thrones, but that's only because we have come so accustomed to who her character is in that show.
And how she weird. I think it's just weird to see a different Jean. And she hasn't really.
Yeah, she had a bad American accent in that movie. I thought, like, it just, I don't know. She's fine. Again, I like her in Game of Thrones, but I thought she did really bad in X-Men, and maybe I'm alone on that. But
I thought she was okay. I didn't think, I thought Michael Fassbender was good. I thought
he's always good.
I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who plays Charles Xavier, I thought he did good.
Dang it, I know his name too.
I thought he did good. The Wolverine part was my favorite part of the whole movie.
That was so unnecessary. It was nice to see Wolverine, but
it was absolutely unnecessary. But they were like, wait a second. We have an X-Men movie without Wolverine?
Yeah, let's
X-Men movies not going to have Wolverine. How do we fit him in here?
They shoot in a 25 minute scene that was just totally pointless.
Biggest problem with this movie, my biggest problem, and this is as the X-Men movie fan, they didn't address Days of Future Past at all. They did not address the end of that movie where Wolverine comes in and everyone's alive. And
that was kind of supposed to be. That was them killing off the old movies.
Yeah, I understand that, but they didn't address it because Wolverine was there.
Jesus, yeah,
now he's locked up in a cage with 80s robot parts on him. That really bugged me. They killed the old movies, and that's good for them because they didn't do a hard reboot. They did a soft reboot. They're like, this is how we'll.
They did a weird reboot. Yeah,
I liked it. It's my favorite.
I think it's worked well. The reboots worked out well for the most part.
Yeah, that movie was awesome. I want to watch it again. Actually, leaving Apocalypse, I was like, man, I should watch Days of Future Past again. That's what I should have done.
That's actually kind of how I felt too. I thought, there was just.
I think if you have HBO now, you can watch it. Which
I think it is
this week.
Maybe I will check it out.
It's a good movie. Anyway,
what were we talking about before that?
E3 is coming up.
E3, yes. Predictions episode next week. I don't know how we're gonna format that yet, but so we'll do no news.
Ideas I wanted to run by you. We'll talk about those off air.
Okay.
We kind of were talking about it earlier, but anyway, E3 in two weeks time, or like a week and a half from this recording. E3 2016. Very, very excited. Not a lot of news has come out, obviously, because we're in this lull right before E3. Yep. I remember seeing headlines today. It was like 9 new things from Final Fantasy 15, and they were very boring new things. Like, this is the drought right before, the breath before the plunge, or the calm before the storm,
Yeah, I get you. It does this every year, and that's why I think it's a good time that we are doing our big top 10 games ever.
I think I'm so excited for these next 7 weeks of the show just to dig into those top 10 lists. And I mean, we're going to talk about it in the back half of the show, but this is going to be the hardest week for me because you and I both are not as familiar with this generation as I think we'd like to be or should be. And I mean,
that's kind of like the purpose of this show, though, is that we're millennials. We didn't grow up with the old stuff. We've played enough of it and we know our way around it and we can go back to it and appreciate it and enjoy it. But we didn't grow up with that stuff. That wasn't in our wheelhouse. And that's why I think this show's the point of the show was supposed to be that it's a little bit different because we grew up with the consoles that came after that. The people who grew up with them originally, when they were becoming teenagers and adults, they were getting the N64 and the PS1 and stuff like that. And meanwhile, that was the stuff that we were growing up on. So that's kind of always been the point of the show. So I think it's all right that we aren't as well versed in the old ones, but there's still, I like my list a lot.
Really
still.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. It took me a little bit too. I had about 5 or 6 that I knew I wanted on there, but then a couple of them towards the end I needed to start thinking about.
So. There was before we dive into our notable news, I did have one story I wanted to share with you. I didn't tell you this before because
I forgot to remind you.
I didn't want it to be redundant. You may have seen my tweets about it though, because yesterday I had a pretty good day.
Oh yeah, I think so. Just how the world aligned for you or something.
Yeah,
like
the stars aligned, and yesterday was a really good video game day. Aligned. Yeah, it was great. It was like Hercules, all the planets aligned and stuff.
Yeah, and then they released the demon monsters Titans at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah,
it was great. So what happened yesterday? Yesterday, Blood and Wine came out for The Witcher. That's my Far Harbor. It's the final expansion. It's great, or it should be great. I haven't started it yet because the Hitman episode came out yesterday as well, and I'm doing that's Bond. Anyway, I'm doing Hitman, the guide for Hitman for IGN, so that takes precedent because that's a job, not me running around Toussaint slaying monsters. Anyway, I woke up and I went to the app and told GameStop to hold a copy for me. They couldn't hold a copy for me. I found out at like 9 o'clock. I know. So what I did was I went through the app to like the next 2 closest GameStops and just said, hold one for me, and just kind of did a process of elimination. And thankfully the first one I added had one. And so I went there later. This is one of the managers I actually know because I've been to his stores a ton. He owns, I think, 2 or 3. And it was just him in the store. So we hung out and talked for a little bit. I bought The Witcher, my collector set with the Gwent and all that stuff.
Oh, Gwent, Game of the Year 2015.
Yes, Gwent, best card game ever. No, I like Hearthstone more, but Gwent is really fun. Anyway,
Hearthstone is great. Actually, I should start playing Hearthstone on my phone more. I recently got unlimited data on my phone.
I want Hearthstone on my Vita.
That would
PS4. I would play.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. More Hearthstone if it was on my PS4.
It'd be cool. Yeah, you'd have to be, if it was on Vita, it'd be something hard to kind of take on the go because you'd always need to be connected to Wi-Fi.
So. Yeah. Well, that's the big problem with the Vita version, but I would play more if it was on my PS4. Anyway, I'm looking around, and if in GameStop, they have like the glass cabinet.
Oh, I know about GameStop. Yeah.
Yeah, the glass cabinet where now it's old DS games go.
Yeah.
Or Game Boy Advance. Like they have that section.
Anything like over $15 goes in there.
So yeah, I was looking at it, and on the top of that, right at the very top, there were GameCube games.
Huh?
Yeah, GameCube games in a GameStop. Now,
okay. I do remember this. I do know where this story is going now, and it's weird that you bought this at a GameStop. What the heck?
I know, it's the craziest thing. So GameStop's online store now sells retro video games. There was a big news story about it a long time ago when it happened. But I guess what you can do is you can actually take your games into GameStop, your old ones, trade them in, and then they get shipped off to a warehouse, and then they're sold on GameStop's website. That's how it works, the manager told me. And what he does is he says he can sell certain games in his store faster than they sell online, and it helps his store's profit and bottom line and all that jazz. So he had 5 GameCube games. He had the first 2 Metroid Prime, so 1 and Echoes, and he had Pikmin 2. He had Wind Waker, which is the one I noticed first, and I would have bought Wind Waker if I didn't already have like an original copy of it. Yeah. And then F-Zero GX, which I've never played an F-Zero game despite loving Captain Falcon in the Smash Brothers games. And my friend Josh was with me, and the manager both talked about how and I've always heard this on NBC and across the internet, how F-Zero gives you a real sense of speed, unlike any other racing game, and they're hard and it's fun. So I looked at it. It was $18. I had 20% off a birthday coupon. I was like, you know what? I'll buy it. Why not? I go and he rings it up. $5.
$5.
I don't know what's more impressive: the fact that the fact that the old games ran up really cheap at GameStop, or I found a GameCube game in a GameStop and bought it.
I think it'd be that you found a GameCube game in general.
Yeah,
that's really weird.
It had the original box art, the manual. It even had the pamphlet to sign up for Nintendo Power to get the guide.
Did you redeem your points for Club Nintendo? I don't even think that wasn't even a thing back then.
Back then they had what they actually have now, My Nintendo. I got burned with My Nintendo the first time around. I registered all my games and just got an extended warranty. And then Club Nintendo came out and I couldn't redeem any of those games. Fight the first order sucks.
The first order rules.
Anyway, for those of you listening, Logan,
I'm listening. Yeah. If you want to see, there's a cup for YouTube. It's
he put his coffee cup in. So anyway, I found this GameCube game. It was awesome. The thing that sucks is I'm getting ready to move, so my GameCube actually is already packed up. So I can't play it yet.
Dang.
Yeah.
I gave my GameCube to my cousin and he sold it like a dummy, because that's definitely why I gave it to him. I could have sold it myself, you big jerk.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You still have a Wii, right?
Yeah, I do. So it's not.
Oh, you're fine.
I kept my memory cards and all that stuff. For some reason, I gave him like a bunch of good games though, like Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion.
Never played Sunshine. If Sunshine was there, I would have bought it.
What?
I've never played Mario Sunshine.
I like that. That's like my favorite Mario game, I think. I love that game.
Favorite Mario game?
Galaxy 2 is up there. I like Sunshine a lot though. Like I'm a huge Sunshine apologist. Don't be hating if you haven't played it.
I haven't hated it, but what I hear on the internet, favorite Mario game is kind of a bold statement for that. But you know what? We'll get to Sunshine.
It's the product of probably when I grew up. So
we'll get to Sunshine in 2 weeks when we hit the GameCube era.
Maybe if it makes my list.
Oh snap! All right,
that's going to be jam packed. That's going to be really hard to pick.
That's going to be a tough one. I mean,
I think these first two are kind of easier. When we get into like week 3, it's going to get hard because I'm going to have more games than slots. So this week it was a little bit easier once I realized which games I wanted to talk about. Let's get into the news though. We've been babbling for a while now.
I just wanted to share that story.
That's a good story. That's a great story. I'll share a story. I bought Overwatch today. It's a fun game. You should buy it. I like it.
Believe me, I really do want to go out and try it. I don't have Xbox Live. I don't have PlayStation Plus. And I can't find a used copy of that game anywhere.
You got a job. You got that chicken bacon money.
I know, but there's a lot of stuff I have to pay for right now. Just got a car. I have insurance. I'm on my own insurance policy now.
That's not fun.
Yesterday, I got in the mail. I got more things in the mail than my parents got in the mail. And I asked my mom if that was what adulthood felt like. And
were some of them birthday cards?
No, they were. It was all bills. It was all adult things.
Oh, well, that's not fun.
It was 2 things from Geico, which is my insurance thing, and then
I think the other 2 were like junk.
I think the other 2 were junk mail. But anyway, I digress. Notable news.
Hold on 1 second. I had something queued up. Hold on. Notable news. Yeah. Notable news. Yep, we gotta rock the air horn every now and then on this show. It wasn't loud.
Oh goodness! Oh my goodness!
I should have turned up the volume a little bit for it. So what do you want to talk about first? People threatening to kill guys, or what? Well, you want to start there?
I mean, you've introduced it that way. We can talk about it now. I put it in like least important to most important, but if you want to switch it around,
I wrote it all in some weird order. Yeah, we'll start with the most important. Why not? We'll skim through the other stuff soon. So Max, No Man's Sky got delayed, and people threatened to murder Jason Schreier because he reported on it, and then people threatened to murder Sean Murray. So yeah,
it's utterly baffling. So
okay. First off, let's break down the fact that it got delayed. It's supposed to come out in 3 weeks on June 21st. It's now coming out, I think, August 9th.
So August 9th. I got my Amazon email today,
which is only like what, 5 or 6 weeks or something like that.
It's not even. It's July with some change. It's not. This happened with The Last of Us. If you remember, The Last of Us it was delayed a month, and happened with Uncharted 4. This is just for now. I'm not saying that No Man's Sky will be on par with The Last of Us Uncharted 4, but I think.
Oh, really? You don't think it's going to be you don't think this is going to be on par with your 2 favorite games ever?
No,
really, Max?
No, I won't be. But when Sony has invested clearly so much money into it, I think if the developer comes up and says, "Hey, we need more polish time. We thought we'd have it ready. We really did, but it's got to be polished." And I think Sony, from an investment standpoint, is like, you know what? Take your time. And me as a fan is also take your time. I want the better game. As Miyamoto once said, if a bad game comes out, it's bad forever. But if a good game comes out, it's, what was it? Something like that. I totally butchered the Miyamoto.
If you release a Star Fox game with awful controls, no one will remember it a week after it's out. I think the quote went something like that.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it sucks that it's delayed again. It seems like Sony's getting so many delays recently. I've said time and time and time again on this show, though, delay your game if you need it. I don't care. I have a stack 50 games. I have games that I'm trying to beat. And if you delay your game, that's fine. Actually, I love this delay personally because I've been trying to get through my backlog, and I'm doing a great job, I think. I've gotten through, in the past.
Are you going to get No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I probably will. I didn't pre-order it or anything like that, but I'm definitely interested. I kind of want to see the reviews on it first, but I'll still probably pick it up regardless.
The reason I'm getting the game is I showed what the game was to my girlfriend, and she's a biology science major, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, there's plants and I can discover things and name them," and she just thought it was really cool. So,
if she thinks it's really cool, tell her to pay for it. Hey,
well,
there you go.
That's how it works. So I'm buying it, but I do have the special edition pre-ordered solely because I'm a sucker for steel cases. But I think I'm going to cancel it because I'm still not sure about this game. I'm wondering how long it seems so overwhelming. It just seems so big.
Well,
I can't fathom it.
Yeah, it's kind of supposed to be like that, but then again, like one of your favorite game from last year was Witcher 3, which is daunting to me still.
Witcher 3 is so big. Oh my gosh, it's so scary. And games like Fallout scare me. So I just I can't imagine this seemingly infinite universe that literally we could not land on all the planets.
I've said it forever. This seems like a game I'd like to sit down and for instance, the past couple days I've just been it's been nonstop work, it seems like. And I want to get home and I want to jump into a game, but I don't want to get too invested because I could do Persona. Yeah, that's true.
Show that Vita some love. Go to Vita.
I know. I've been trying to more. But yeah, I get home from late shifts at work and stuff like that, and I maybe want to sit down and play for an hour or something like that. But the games I'm playing, like Bloodborne and Fallout and things like that, I don't want to just put an hour into because I basically do nothing in the game, it feels like. Those are games I want to sit down and put a couple hours into at a time. No Man's Sky seems like something you could probably jump into for 30, 40 minutes and jump out and feel fine. And it seems relaxing too. That's the other thing that I really like about it. I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely going to end up picking it up when it comes out just because it's been so highly publicized, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we had our "What games are you looking forward to most" episode at the beginning of the year, and I think it was on both of our lists. It's just an interesting game. I'm curious to see what the finished product's actually like, and
we'll find out in August.
Yeah, we will. And to Sean Murray, it's Sean Murray
and Hello Games.
Yeah, Sean Murray and Hello Games. Take your time. If you need to delay it another year, do it. And to all of you people out there threatening to kill Sean Murray, if that happens, you never get the game. So
It's just a video game. It really is. When it comes down to it, it's just a game, and it doesn't matter.
And I think some of the death threats.
How is there such a fan base behind a game that doesn't even exist yet?
I don't know. The Reddit for that game, and like there's very strange subcultures for this game. Like the people who really want this game are obsessed with it. And there's a couple games that'll get that way. Overwatch was borderline that way. When Overwatch came out, there was such a fervor about it on the internet and the weeks leading up to it even. I just don't I think a bunch of these things are said facetiously, like, oh, I'm gonna kill you and stuff like that. Like it. No, I don't think anyone's ever, of course, capitalized on it. I've never heard so-and-so game reviewer dead because they gave Uncharted an 8 point whatever. Like those things don't happen, but it's still just the fact that if somebody was to randomly say, hey, Max, I want to kill you on the internet, that's kind of uncomfortable. You're going to feel weird about that. And
I don't think I've been told I'd be killed. But like the things that YouTube comments have said, and way back in the day, at least before I knew about Twitch, I was a kid. I mean, I was in 8th grade. I would do some live streams of like emulated games on my computer off some live stream website that wasn't Twitch. And that would get really like scary, especially as a kid, because I didn't know what I was doing. The internet can be a sucky place. And the more public you are, like as a person, like a Jason Schreier or Anita Sarkeesian or Greg Miller or a Sean Murray or even a Shuei Yoshida, like these people are very, very public.
Oh man, I hope no one would ever threaten Shu. He's the nicest man. He's the nicest man ever.
He is so nice. I mean, do you remember when he came out and announced Bloodborne and like he was so excited?
Yeah.
I was so stoked for that game. But, you know, it just has to be even harder just to deal with all this crap and vile and just venom that people spit at you, and it's disgusting, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does for sure. I just don't. If you're one of those people, knock it off, please. And if you're just don't be like that. There's no reason for it. I mean, that's why I've gravitated so much towards like the kind of funny community and stuff like that. Like everybody's cool to each other. There's none of that crap going on, and it's really refreshing and nice to see some positivity on the internet for once. So just be a cool person, be nice. Remember that there's somebody on the other side of that computer screen or on that stupid tweet you're typing. I mean, just think about other people. You don't have to be a douchebag all the time. And as far as No Man's Sky goes, again, with the delay, I'm happy about it because I was probably going to pick it up and sink some time into it in a couple weeks. Now I get to keep going through my backlog, hopefully getting that trimmed down.
What's next on your backlog?
I put in Assassin's Creed the other day, and I started playing through that. We'll see if I stick with that. I want to play it. I do. It sounds kind of fun right now. But then I just got Overwatch, so that may command some of my time going forward. But again, that's something. Well, that's something I can pop into and out.
Yeah, Overwatch reminds me of Battlefront for you. Like.
Yeah, like I'll play a bunch of things alongside that and then keep coming back to it every now and then. Mm. Yeah, so I don't know. I've got a bunch of stuff. I've talked to you. I want to jump back into Witcher. I really do.
Sure.
I do. Like
Were you playing Witcher on Xbox?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to jump back into it, but it's just been so long. And the past 2 games I've really put a lot of time into are Bloodborne and
really
Fallout
big games.
Fallout, yeah. So I kind of want to do something like Assassin's Creed right now, where it's just like.
I mean, Assassin's Creed is big though. It is an open world game.
Yeah, but there is like a sense of accomplishment to it. Slowly, like find this viewpoint, do this side quest, like, and you start
checking off a list.
Yeah, which is kind of what I want right now. So I was thinking about either playing that or Mad Max, and I'm gonna try Assassin's Creed,
which would be the same thing, checking off a list.
Yeah,
I've been chipping away at Persona, and that's my list, is going day by day.
Yeah, I really do need to jump back into that. That's something, especially when we probably finally find out the release date for Persona 5. That's going to be my end goal, is beat Persona 4 before Persona 5 comes out. I've had that goal forever, and I need to capitalize on it.
You have the time now.
I do. I for sure do.
Summer's dead.
But right. So the next game that comes out is what now? Lego Star Wars Force Awakens at the end of the month?
End of June, yeah.
And that's about. I think that's it. Yeah, I'm really excited for that too. I think that's all that's coming out for the summer that I can think of, unless there's like Batman. Some indie titles. Batman next month. That's right.
I will play Mirror's Edge is Tuesday.
Like Mirror's Edge is it's next week. I may rent that again. I don't know. I rented the original one and played it and liked it.
I love Mirror's Edge 1, so I'm hoping. I'm trying to see if A, either someone bought it for me, or B, I just get like gift cards, and then it comes down to Overwatch or Mirror's Edge.
Maybe with some birthday money or something like that.
I'm not gonna get that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
expect to get a lot, so it'd be like one game
anymore. Yeah, I don't get that much anymore.
It's weird. It's like getting older. People care less and less about celebrating your birthday.
Yeah, no, it's like you become less of a person the older you get. It's weird.
You shrivel up and die.
Any of the money I do get for my birthday, though, I've already said that it's immediately going towards the PSVR. I'm actually thinking about trying to pay the PSVR off within like a couple weeks.
I'm slowly and by slowly I mean I have $50 for it, but I'm slowly, because I'm moving and I got a car and like I just have to handle those things first. But I am trying to slowly put money toward. I have till October, so I'm not super stressed right now. Gosh, PSVR.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to save. I would like to pay it off maybe by the end of July.
Holy cow. You really want to put it away.
Yeah, I mean, I make a decent amount enough to.
Did you do you just did the basic bundle, right? The core?
Yeah, after because we had both of them pre-ordered, and then I just
canceled them
to go down a notch. So yeah, it's only $400. So we'll see. I'm gonna ask my parents for. My parents usually get me something for my birthday, and I'll just be like, "Hey, can I get like a Amazon gift card or something like that?" So,
don't ask for an Amazon gift card. You cannot add a gift card to something you already pre-ordered.
I'm pretty sure you can.
I've tried to do that. I was looking into doing it, and I chatted with customer service about it because I was looking at it for Uncharted 4 actually, and they said I could not add a gift card to something I had already pre-ordered.
Really? There should be like an because I'm pretty sure I've done it before. There should be like an option under where you're looking at the item. Of course, we're talking about this on the podcast. There should be like an option under the item that you've purchased that says like apply gift card or apply rewards card or something like that.
They said I couldn't, so I stopped looking there.
That's weird. I'll check when we get off the air.
I would not. I would wait until 100% sure, because then you're gonna get $20 to Amazon. That's not gonna go to your VR. I just ask for cash.
Yeah. I'll double check for sure, but I think you can. We'll look after the show. I brought up Fallout. I beat Fallout last week. Finally got all the achievements on it, Max. Beat the whole thing. I beat Far Harbor. I beat all the DLC.
Equivalent of platinuming?
There's no big platinum at the end, so it's kind of a little boring, but I've got the max gamer score that I can get on the game. It's fun. I liked it. Took me 7-8 months, something like that, to beat entirely.
Probably, yeah.
7. So
took you forever.
I saw all of the endings and they were all kind of boring, but they're fine.
I'm telling you, man, we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about it a little. So mods have come out this week, though.
For console,
for Xbox specifically,
for official, legal, legitimate game mods.
Yeah, you don't need to
Xbox.
You don't need to crack your Xbox open with the screwdriver and pound on it with a hammer to get the mods.
What future do we live in, man?
2016.
Gosh, it's crazy. And these mods come to PlayStation in a month. Not that I played Fallout 4, but the mods will be there soon. So I'm actually surprised it's a shorter gap between the two. I thought Microsoft was going to have some mod exclusivity for Fallout for a while.
I bet they stutter when they come out on PS4. Bethesda always has problems with DLC or add-ons on PS4. I don't know why. Far Harbor's even been struggling on PS4 for some reason. So I don't know.
I have no idea, man. But, the mods are out. It's not too surprising what's very popular. There's some to make it look better. There's some to change the way your characters look.
I really hope there's a Macho Man Randy Savage mod like there was.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think there was in Skyrim. I think there's a Macho Man one. I'm going to go to the link now for like one of the monsters. If I look at it,
that would make sense. There's like a couple behemoths in the game. That would be cool if it was Macho Man Randy Savage. And if not, there you go.
No,
that's an idea you guys can take.
No, that's actually a thing. If this is who I think Macho Man Randy Savage is,
the wrestler, snapped into a Slim Jim.
Yeah, that guy. But if you open up the link in the list, you can scroll down maybe halfway and see it. But the big mods are like, there's one that makes women's breasts bigger. There's one that changes.
Oh, great mod.
Yeah, there's one that lets you build your own vault. Gives you modern guns, modern looking guns, cat mods, normal mod things you would see.
Oh, hey, look at those bosoms. What a great mod.
It's like one of the most popular ones on there.
Right yes, the Macho Man. It's Death Claws. So it's not behemoths, it's Macho Man Randy Savage Death Claws. That's so good. I love that. That's awesome.
There you go. There you go. So you can download that right now.
Interesting.
He's gonna download it after.
I probably will, or at least queue up the update.
Because it's not even that. I don't think the size for these range from like just a few kilobytes to maybe a couple hundred megabytes. So they're not gonna take up space.
Yeah, so I told you that I'll probably check them out when they come out with the next expansion in a couple months. I don't really have a ton of...
I thought Far Harbor was like the big one, and now everything after that is small.
Well, it may be I don't know. They haven't really said. Yeah, they haven't really said. They said it's the biggest one they've ever done like so far, but they didn't say if it was going to be the biggest in this pack specifically. Yeah, and that was why they increased the season pass price, was because I'm pretty sure they're releasing like 2 more packs, maybe 3, if I'm not wrong.
So there is a reason down the road for you to actually hop back into this game.
Yeah. I'll end up playing it again later this year.
If you use mods, achievements are blocked.
Really?
For that play session. It'd be like Grand Theft Auto if you turned on cheats.
Okay, if you punch in a cheat code. I gotcha.
I honestly might try them now before the next expansion where you get new achievements.
Does it stop your whole playthrough, or does it just for the rest of your playthrough afterwards, or just that session and then once you quit out of it? I think it's just the
session was my understanding.
That's probably
that's what makes sense.
But I don't really have anything else left to do on the game, so I don't know. I'll just wait a couple
months. Run in there, go kill some Randy Savage Death Claws.
I don't want to kill
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Randy Savage has already left our own world. I don't want to kill him in the Commonwealth. So
you should murder him. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool that they're here. I'm interested to see what game does it next.
Yeah, I think some people wanted to see them earlier, but this was about when I expected them to come out, about 6 months
after announcement.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, yeah, I mean, a year after announcement, but about 6 to 7 months after release. I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, because it's probably a big, long ordeal for them to get them on the consoles. Because, like you said, that's weird that they're on consoles. This has never happened before. So
it's like free public cheating that other people get to make for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's cool. I'll jump into it. I'll let you know in a couple months.
I do want to hear it because I obviously will never get to do it. So.
Yeah, you won't. PS Plus games are out for June. Not out yet, but next week. Actually, pretty solid list this week, this month.
By solid, you mean 2 games?
No, I mean, I think the PS3 game Echo Chrome is supposed to be pretty good, from what I've heard.
I haven't heard anything about it, so I've just cast
Echo Chrome is supposed to be pretty good. So the list we've got, I'm doing this all from my memory. So you got NBA 2K.
I've got the list up if you want me to read it.
You can. Let me see which ones I can get right, though. So you got NBA 2K16 on PS4, which is a fantastic deal. Even if you're not a basketball fan, I would say pick that up. Well, I guess if you don't like basketball at all, you're still not going to like it. But
yeah, I'm not going to like it.
Great sports game. One of the best sports games of the past 5 years, I would say.
It's also currently, it's the most current one until November, September, October of this year.
October, I think, yeah.
2K17 comes out. But right now, this is the most recent basketball game.
It's a really good deal. It's probably the best deal they've had on PS Plus in a long time. Ever since, I'd say, like, another one that comes to mind is when Rocket League launched. That was a pretty good deal because that was like $20.
League was great.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good deal. If you've been wanting this game and haven't gotten it for some reason, then yeah, good job. I've already got it. So
the next one is the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah,
I love this game.
I still don't know how I feel about this game. Gone Home is the other PS4 game. It just launched about a month or two ago on PS4. Used to be a PC Mac exclusive. It does have it does? No.
Yeah.
It does?
Gone Home has a platinum.
Huh.
Exo phase I go.
I don't think they do have a platinum. Because I remember Greg complaining about it a ton. I don't think it does.
Oh gosh. Me freaked everything out.
Oh no.
Are you sure? I'm 90% sure it has a platinum.
I'm 90% sure you're wrong.
No. Well, you know what? I'm on the LTE now, so this has nothing to do with our show.
You can check it out on your phone. So you've got Gone Home, which is also on PS4. Which, if you haven't played, play it. It's like a 90-minute to 2-hour game, if that. Just see if you like it. It's clicked with a bunch of people. Some people think it's like one of the best narrative games ever. I didn't like the bait and switch type thing, which is kind of an issue I had also with Firewatch. Where
can you search?
Here's one thing and here's not.
No, this is the game that got me excited for Firewatch.
Gone Home? Yeah.
Yep, because you can the way you just explore and interact with the environment, I think is the interactive environment storytelling is the best part. And
yeah, I do like interacting with the things that you find in that house.
Gone Home console edition.
You ain't gonna find a platinum.
10 trophies. Let's see. I could be wrong. Now I'm worried I'm wrong.
Oh, don't be worried, because you are. Okay, and rounding out the list.
It's a platinum. Oh, that's silver, gold.
While you're looking for that, I will round out the list. PlayStation 3, you're getting Siren Blood Cursed episodes 1 through 12. Echo Chrome on PS3. PS Vita, you're getting God of War Chains of Olympus, which is actually a PSP port, which is really weird. And then you get Little Deviants. Those are your PS Plus games of the month. Check them out.
Right. I'm sorry, I lied.
Play it. You did lie. I knew you did lie. Because I'm telling you, Greg's complained about that forever. He's every time they talk to what's his name with Fulbright, he busts his balls for it. He says, "Oh yeah, he didn't give Gone platinum."
Anyway, yes, that's the list. The best. I mean, NBA KT16 is a fantastic deal, just because of what it is. Like, it's such a big name.
It still retains its value pretty well.
Gone Home, is a great game. I've heard nothing about these PS3 games. I have no idea what they're about.
Pretty sure Echo Chrome's like a puzzle type game.
Okay. On the Vita, I mean, last month was Ghost of Sparta, the superior PSP game, and now we've got Chains of Olympus. So it's cool. Now you have the God of War games on your Vita. I would find it hilarious if for the next couple of months, at least next month, they put out God of War 1 on the Vita for it. Like, they just fill out the God of War collection on your Vita. And Little Deviants is a launch game that I remember Greg talking about. So,
can you ping trophies on the God of War games?
I don't think these are Vita.
Yeah, because they're PSP games. See, that's why I don't care at all. Otherwise, I would love that. If those were actual PSP versions, I
thought there was
a collection on
the Vita,
but I don't think it was these two we've gotten. I don't think it was Chains of Olympus.
Oh, you think it was 1 and 2?
I'm pretty sure it was 1 and 2.
God of War Vita, not Hot of War. I'm all over.
You don't have to look it up, because like the Platinum and Gone Home, I know I'm right.
Oh, you're right. Yep, it was the first two. I just had to see the box art. Yeah, it was the first two games, and then never mind. Yes. So yeah, it's just a PSP game, which is kind of sneaky of them. I mean, it plays on the Vita. It's not a big game.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd, but I'm
honestly
still a fine game if you want to play it.
Well, they've done it before. Never mind. I'm not surprised anymore. I was going to say, I'm surprised they didn't do Guacamelee since Severed just came out, but they've done Guacamelee.
They've done Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition in the past,
which is a game I should play again and platinum again.
Which is something I've thought of too.
Super Turbo Championship Edition has a new platinum, so I could just do it again.
I've never played it. The Super Turbo Championship.
Okay, I was gonna say, you never played Guacamelee?
No, that was like the first game I bought on my Vita. So no, I'm good.
I played it on PS3. Loved it. It's great.
Interesting. Yeah.
Anyway,
good PS Plus month.
It's great. It's the first good month. I'll give it a stamp of good in a long time.
Yeah, I'd say the past. I'm usually way more forgiving with it, but I have to admit the past like The past 2 months specifically have been really bad. Usually there's something every month that I like. I mean, if I get one game per month that I'm like, oh, hey, I want that, then it's all totally worth it to me. But
that's usually how I look at it.
The past 2 or 3 months specifically, really bad. So
on the PlayStation front, and I think Xbox has stepped their game up.
Xbox has stepped their game up. I just downloaded
is Super Meat Boy
and Goat Simulator and the Crew and XCOM Enemy Unknown.
And then like last month or something, recently was
Costume Quest
2. Peggle was one.
Dead Space was recent.
Oh yeah, I did get Dead Space, which I'm so glad now I don't have to hook up my PS3 for Dead Space.
Yeah.
Like Sunset Overdrive was the same month as Dead Space.
Sunset Xbox was
killing it.
They've been doing a good job. Yeah. So and which is weird because I think honestly Sony and Microsoft have kind of switch with that, because I thought for the longest time I thought Microsoft was so weak with the games they're coming out with,
and Sony was killing it.
And no one everybody's been so quick to act.
Do you remember we got Arkham City for free?
Yeah, it was a bunch of really weird stuff.
Arkham City
for a while there.
Free.
Yeah.
What?
PS Plus has been good for a while, but it's steadily gone downhill. Meanwhile, Xbox I think started off sucky and has steadily gotten better.
Wasn't Freedom Wars free?
It was at one point, yeah.
Did I get that?
I'm not sure. Golden Abyss was free as well.
I've had Golden Abyss, yeah. I remember that. I have Gravity Rush as well, which that's a game I never played.
I played it.
Now I gotta find out if I got Freedom Wars. I think
find out after the show.
No,
I'm putting a hold on. We got to get through this news. We're kind of running sort of behind. Max,
no, I think that was it, right? Oh no.
Well, if you want to talk about
the one I fought to keep.
Yeah, the one you fought to keep. Otherwise, we'd be done. Ugh. Tell everybody why you want to talk about this, because I honestly don't have anything to say. New Skylanders, hooray for Spyro and stuff.
Yeah, it's not even Spyro anymore. They're just their own thing. Spyro wasn't even in the promotional. He's not on the box for this. He's not in any of the art. Spyro is dead once again, and Skylanders lives. But there is a new Skylanders.
Bury him next to Crash.
There was a leak a couple of days ago, and then it was officially announced today. It's called Skylanders Imaginators. And normally I wouldn't talk about this because Skylanders is something I don't play. I've never played Skylander, like bought them. I've had my friend who was really into it, but he stepped away from the Skylanders. But the only reason I wanted to bring it up was not because only Disney Infinity was canned a few weeks ago, but the catch or the hook with this game is you get to create your own Skylander within the game. Your character creation is the catch for this game. What does this mean for Toys to Life?
Hopefully they're kind of, I don't know. This is something
what's the point of me buying the figure?
This is something I don't know how to predict anymore. I really don't know.
It's changing.
I don't know where Toys to Life is
very
going.
Eyes.
Yeah, like a bunch of other stuff in the game industry right now with the half step up consoles and things like that. I have no idea where Toys to Life is going in the future, and I don't know what this means with Skylanders now.
The thing I think is the way to get you to buy more toys is you lock certain abilities away from customer creation, but then that limits the creation tool, which would feel like I'm being robbed. One thing I could see them doing that would be kind of cool is you build your Skylander in the game, and with a special code, you can actually buy the toy version of it. I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd be really expensive, but I think that'd be cool. It's weird. And, Amiibo is its own thing. It's just kind of collector stuff. People don't really use them for the game. Disney Infinity's dead. And Lego Dimensions has only had one iteration. And Dimensions seems to be doing fine. Lego has the power. But, I mean, people said Disney had the power too.
Well, that's the thing is that that I've thought of and that a bunch of other people have brought up. Lego was at least an established brand before all these others, because
Disney's an established brand.
Yes, but Lego was already established as a toy one, which is half of the equation with the Toys to Life games, and then it was also established as a game with all the Lego franchises. So it's already had a market share in the two things that the Toys to Life games are, which is toys and games. Meanwhile, Disney Infinity and Amiibo are just kind of their own things, and I think Amiibo specifically found a lot of success, and I think Disney Infinity found success, but obviously not at the same time because they took a loss of $150 million on the whole thing. So it's weird because Infinity was the best selling, but obviously the production costs for these toys or something like that is just way higher than we anticipate or would think they are. And I don't know. I think we downplay a lot of it.
Activision is, to me, it's Activision trying to breathe new blood into this franchise, because Activision, as we all know, loves to beat a franchise until it's dead. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Guitar Hero,
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty's still going though. I mean, Black Ops.
Yeah, I mean, but so is Skylanders at the same time. Like,
I mean, Skylanders has dwindled. Call of Duty had Ghost, it dipped, and then it's climbed back up, and now we got to see if Infinite Warfare is gonna deliver. And I think Infinite Warfare sales will be very strong because
of the pack-in
remaster.
Yeah, which is annoying, but
and then in 6 months you'll be able to buy the remaster by itself.
I don't even know if it'll be that long. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like by February or something like that.
After Christmas.
I don't think it's going to be that long at all.
But, you know, it's interesting to see them seemingly step away from the actual toy aspect of Toys to Life. Toys for Bob is doing it, which is the people that originally made Skylanders, so they're back. It sounds like it's narrative driven, which, I mean, it's a Skylanders game. I'm not looking for super rich story, but, you know, there's a story there. And I think for kids, which is what this is marketed at, the imagination aspect of designing my own character would be really cool. If the tools are robust enough. I mean, there has to be enough combinations or you're going to run out of things you want to make. So I think it's an interesting step for this area of games, and I thought that was worth discussing.
Yeah, I definitely think this Toys to Life thing is going to continue to evolve over the next year. I'll be interested to see where it's at by this time next year, and even where it's at within the next 6 months, and how it shapes up this holiday season, because this holiday season is getting pretty packed pretty quick. I think somebody brought up earlier that there's going to be Call of Duty, Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, and Gears of War 4 all out within like 4 weeks of each other or something like that, which is insane. So
hold on.
So yeah, it's gonna be nuts.
That will be that time of year.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they still have a certain appeal to them, but it's just gonna. I don't know. Depending, I'm very curious. It might have to be one of those things that if they are still making money on it, I don't know if they're still making money on Skylanders, but it might be smart to take it away and bring it back like a little bit later. As we wrap up the news here, breaking news.
Oh goodness!
On the show. Kind of just you won't care. You won't care about this. NBA 2K news though. Paul George of the Indiana Pacers is the 2K17 cover athlete. So, your boy Paul George. That's right.
There you go. All right.
That just got announced a couple minutes ago. So representing Indianapolis over here. So
I like it.
That makes me happy. If one of my dudes is getting some recognition for being a superstar on the front cover.
I thought this was something more important.
No. I knew you wouldn't care, but that's cool. That's cool to me. I know you don't care.
Cool. No,
but it's very rare that Indiana gets some recognition, so it's cool to have him on a video game cover.
Gronkowski from the Patriots is the NFL.
He's the Madden guy this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope the Madden curse continues and Gronk like breaks an arm or something. I actually don't wish harm on the man. I just hate the Patriots with my very fiber of my being. So.
Yeah, I feel you.
The Patriots are awful.
I feel you. Let's get away from the sport talk because I know you can only keep that up for probably another 30 seconds. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, week number 1 of our 6-week favorite game segment that we're doing. Me and Max have ordered our top 10 favorite old school games. We will give you the parameters and tell you what systems and things like that. And you know what? Just listen to this music, and I'll give you the rundown when we get back here in just a moment. So, bye.
Farewell. Da, 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 da. I'll mute that because that was dumb. Anyway, 5. I need to get a pillow for my lower back because I'm a 100-year-old man.
Okay. Hi, one viewer on YouTube. Who do you think it is? Do you think it's Abby? Do you think it's Kevin?
I would put money on Kevin. Abby's in a movie right now, so I know it's not her.
Oh, maybe she can't get enough of this show.
I doubt that because she's in the movie theater.
Hey, Kevin, if it is you, I do need to do that Bloodborne with you. I'm sorry, I've just been like super busy lately. We'll try to figure something out, and I've still got your number. I can text you sometime. I need to friend request you on PSN. So if you're listening, I'll try to, or maybe you killed all the spiders already. I don't know. I'll try to help you out sometime soon though if I get the chance. I should be.
Me.
Are you?
Hey, he just texted me. He's like, "You win money." So it is Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. Oh, he just texted me too.
See, there you go.
Okay, there you go. Hey, Kevin. I'm good. I'm good whenever you are. I don't know if you need a timestamp or whatever.
I've got I wrote it down.
I was gonna say I'm at about 57 here in a couple seconds.
Yeah, we're in the same spot. I do want to get a refill on water really quick because I'm low.
That's fine.
And we're gonna be talking for a while here, so
I'll talk to the viewers, all two of them.
Talk to the internet.
Kevin, who's the other one? Who is our other viewer? Who is it? Who is our other viewer? We have 2 people in here. We've got 2
I don't know who the second one is. It's a stranger. Say hello.
Hello, stranger. Do I know you? Probably. Maybe. Is it Cisco? Cisco? Is that you, Cisco? Cisco, you followed me on Twitter. Are you watching this show now? I know you like gaming podcasts. I know you like video games a lot. You listen to Podcast Beyond a whole bunch. I know you're part of the Kind of Funny community. You showed up on stage with Tim Geddes and sang the Pokemon theme song, and you also sang the Thong Song, which is a fantastic song. I love that song. Is it you, Cisco? If it's not you, Cisco, then I'm going to tweet you a link to this week's show. And maybe you'll watch it. And maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll retweet it to your thousands of followers who follow you. And then maybe next week we'll have 200 viewers in here. Or maybe we'll just have Kevin again because Kevin's a good, loyal fan. Who knows? Who else could it be? Who else could the second viewer be? Could it be the ghost of Dan Aykroyd? Probably couldn't be the ghost of Dan Aykroyd because I'm pretty sure Dan Aykroyd's still alive. Speaking of ghosts, Ghostbusters, probably not going to be a good movie. Hi, Max. How's your water?
It's good. It's water.
So I've narrowed it down. I think the second viewer is either the ghost of Dan Aykroyd or Cisco. It's one or the other.
Why would it be Cisco? Oh, gosh, there's a cat in here.
Because he follows me on Twitter, and I retweeted our link, and he's probably like, oh, yeah, dude, video game podcast.
I got to get this cat out of here. I don't know how they sneak in here, man. I shut the door.
Those sneaky cats. I'll talk to the people still. Who else could it be? Is it Max's cat? Is Max's cat watching this? Is it Kevin's sister? Kevin, you have a sister? Is your sister watching this, Kevin? I'm trying to figure out who the second person is.
Kevin has 2 brothers, an older one and a younger one. I'm sure neither of them are watching this. 100% sure.
Is it the ghost of your sister, Kevin?
Kevin doesn't. To my knowledge, Kevin has never had a sister.
You don't. Maybe Kevin doesn't.
You're right. I could be absolutely just totally wrong. But
Kevin's gonna tell me all about his long lost sister when I help him kill all those spiders in a couple of days or weeks or something. Hey, my Xbox turned off when we were talking. Let's see if I can turn it off from here. Xbox power off. Yes. Yeah, did it.
I wish my my PlayStation did that, because the camera you have to like enunciate so clearly.
That is the only thing that is good about the stupid Kinect.
I saw one in GameStop. It was used. It was like $90. I was like,
oh my gosh, it's not worth it at all.
I know.
The only things I do is I tell it to pull up my on and off, or not even off, on usually. Usually I'll like scream at it to go turn on, and then I'll go pee or something while it's kicking on or something. Usually I tell it to turn on. I'll tell it to bring up my achievements, and I will tell it to record a snapshot or a video. And that's it. That's
Xbox. Save that.
Yep, that's all I do.
That seriously would be so handy.
It's nice, but it's not worth $90.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not crazy. I'm ready. Yeah, let's do this.
Okie doke. I'm trying to. I made sure to get 2 tickets for the PlayStation experience, and I'm trying to invite one of my friends, who is typically an Xbot, to go with me. So
you're trying to convert him.
I'm trying to convert him. He's one of my coworkers at GameStop. He would crap on Sony whenever he got a chance, and we would usually spend like the majority of our shifts arguing about stuff like that. So I'm good whenever you are, sir. And I think our YouTube viewers are ready as well. Sorry for the delay, you guys. I'm not trimming these episodes anymore. I used to trim them out so it could just be like the show, but I'm sure you guys like watching how the bread is made, or the pudding is made, or
how the
sausage is made, or the mashed potatoes are made, just
the gravy,
just all kinds of stuff, how it's made. You know, it's a show. Yeah, we could probably have a show. We could probably have an episode of the show How It's Made, about how our show is made on TV, and that would help us get more viewers.
You figure that out. I'll let you deal with that.
I'll email the Discovery Channel or wherever that airs. I think
it's Discovery Channel. Anyway,
maybe it's the Science Channel. Is that a channel? I think that's a channel.
I don't know.
Your girlfriend would probably know. She's probably she's a biology person. She would know.
Alrighty, I've got my timestamp. So,
all right, let's
count us in, bro.
We will count down our lists in 3, 2, and 1. Hello, friends. Welcome back to episode 43 of Millennial Gaming Speak. I am still Logan. That is still Max. This is still Millennial Gaming Speak. I already told you that, but just in case you forgot, you still know that everything's the same. Max.
Yes.
Welcome to week 1 of our favorite games ever.
Of all
dun, 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 dun. Oh man, gotta cue up the air horn again. Hold on.
No.
Hold on. Welcome to week 1 of our favorite games of all time segment. Breaking it down by console generation, we start with the earliest systems, the prehistoric days. Let me set the scene for you here, Max. Dinosaurs still roamed the earth. We all lived in caves. We didn't know what HD televisions were yet.
HD televisions are hard to get.
When you played a game, you actually just held a rock in your hand, and somebody else chiseled in the graphics to a stone wall while you played.
I don't remember this from my video game history.
Well, we're millennials, so we don't remember this. We skipped this whole part. But this is how it originally was,
right?
I don't know what kind of wacky schools they got down there in Florida, but this is what I learned.
Goodness gracious. We have 2 very different histories.
The oldest of the old. We're starting. Actually, it's not the oldest of the old. Otherwise, it would be like the cathode, the whatever tube entertainment machine thingy, and tennis for 2 and stuff like that.
Love me some tennis for 2.
Original Pong. Everything was a Pong ripoff for like 5 years.
Space
War.
Yes. Anyway, our favorite games.
Starting by console generation. I will set the scene. I will set the stage for you now.
Oh, so, is this the real stage?
This is the real. Well, the other one may have been real too, but I'm going to tell you what we're doing instead. You'll never know if the other one wasn't real. This week, I told you last week, but if you missed last week, here's what we're doing. Next 6 weeks on the show, we are counting down our top 10 favorite games. We are going by console generation. So we're starting with the oldest console generation, and we will eventually get to week 6, which will accumulate in our top 10 favorites ever from all console generations. But until then, we're breaking it down generation by generation. This week starts with the original games, which includes the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the Sega Genesis, the Atari, even though I don't think any of us have Ataris on there, and arcades as well, up to a certain point. Obviously, not all arcade games. But that's where we're going. We included, obviously, we haven't, I said it earlier in the show, we haven't played as many old games as some people. That's kind of the purpose of this show. We're millennials. We didn't. Jeez, Max, you coughing in my rants? You did turn. I'm kidding. So we didn't grow up with the same kind of consoles that a bunch of other people grew up with. We grew up with a little bit later stuff like the Nintendo 64 and the PS1 and GameCube and things like that. So this older stuff is a little bit more foreign to us. But in recent years, we have gone back to play a bunch of the good games from the systems. I actually grew up with a couple of them myself, but I didn't know how to play games as well when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Things like that. So
I grew up with none of these.
I grew up with an SNES and a Genesis.
Nope.
And an Atari, actually, as well. So I grew up with a couple of these.
None of it.
But by the time I was like 5, I had an N64. So that pretty much ended all of my gaming with the old ones for the most part. So yeah, this week is the older games. We're going to count down our top 10 favorite older games from those old console generations, the ones I listed. Again, I know that the range on this, it isn't all one generation. Obviously, the NES and the Genesis and the SNES weren't all considered the same generation, but we kind of just had to throw a bunch of different ones in there so that we could get a top 10 list, because if it was just top 10 NES games, we weren't going to have a top 10 because this first week's a little bit weirder. This is probably going to be our strangest week.
I did want to say before we got the ball rolling, I have a very good feeling this is going to be the toughest week for me, because I didn't grow up with any of these, like I just said, and I haven't played a ton of them since their initial release. What I really wanted to do is try and put games I've actually played, and I've played all of these games. I haven't beaten them all, but I've played all of them on my list, and I wanted them to mean something to me. And, I could look at something like, a Pitfall or, Super Mario Brothers 1 and Super Mario Brothers 1, like I've never beaten, I kind of do World 1 and that's kind of it. But, I can look at those games and obviously they're landmarks. They're or Street Fighter 2. Like I've never played Street Fighter 2.
Street Fighter 2 is fun.
And that's what everyone says. Like I could look at these pillars or these titans in our history and obviously put them on a list and be a problem, but they wouldn't mean anything to me. And so I tried to put games together that I had some authority that I could speak on, or really what I could have done is just pulled a BuzzFeed list and given it to you. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted something a little more genuine, and you'll definitely get that from these future weeks, because from the N64 up, I'm active and prevalent in the game industry as far as a consumer goes. And yeah, I'm going to have something to say for sure, but I did my best with this week. I have a feeling this will be the toughest one for me.
Yeah. I haven't beaten all the games on my list either. And I don't think there's anything to be like, I don't think you have to have beaten them. Again, to reiterate to people, and I think Max is kind of feeling like if he doesn't include the ones that are normally considered the best, then it's not a true list. These are our favorites. So I'll tell you right now, there's 1 or 2 games on my list personally, kind of stinkers, but I like them personally because it's what I grew up with. So this is no way is the best games from these generations. It's our favorites. So if you hear what our number 1 favorite is, and that's stupid, how could that be your favorite? Or how could you say that one's the best? That game sucks. It's our personal opinion. So keep that in mind. It's not a best list. It's a favorite list. And with that, Max, how would you like to do this? Because we have not planned it.
I was thinking 10-1. Just count them down.
10-1. Okay. And we will dwell on them as we feel the need to. We can give a quick blurb for
there's
each of them.
that I can just say as a blurb. I have to imagine there's going to be a little bit of crossover. So,
there will be. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, but we do not need to dwell on. There are only a few of these I really want to dig into, at least on my end, and I'm interested to see what yours is.
Yeah, same here. I mean, there's a couple that I can talk about for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, for the most, and we want to keep this moving too. Otherwise, this will be a 2.5 hour long episode. So yeah, we won't go on forever. Do you have any honorable mentions that you would like to include?
I struggled to get 10.
Okay, I figured as much.
I mean, shout outs to Galaga, I guess. I didn't put Galaga on my list.
I'm going to give a special shout out to Barney's Hide and Seek Adventure on the Sega Genesis, one of my first games
my goodness.
ever. I remember playing that stupid game so much. No, that game, that was like one of those first. So the Sega Genesis, so people know, that was like my first console. That was my dad's console. My mom bought that for him for his birthday. And so he had a bunch of games on it. And then I was born and I started growing up. And my parents were like, oh, let's buy him a couple games. So Barney Hide and Seek was one of those stupid games that I remember playing at like one of the earliest points of my childhood. I think there's my mom has a picture of me in a diaper at 18 months old with a Sega Genesis controller in my hand. So that was my first introduction. That was my first introduction to video games. So it's definitely not one of my favorites, but it's a game I remember playing when I was a tot, as they say. So
I like your honorable mention. That's good.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to put that in the top 10, but
you sure? Not number one?
It's worth a shout out. It's worth a shout out for sure.
Awesome. All right, lay it on me.
You want me to do my first one? All right.
I wanted to hear number 10, Logan Morris.
Number 10. X-Men on the Sega Genesis. Now, this was another game for me that I can remember.
I promise I'm listening. I want to see what it looks like because go
ahead. There's a couple different ones. There's X-Men 2, The Clone Wars. That's also an awesome game, and I thought of including that one. But X-Men, the original, was like one of the first games I remember playing, and it beat the crap out of me. I could never get past like level 2 in that game. There was this part where you had to like fly across this ship, and there was comets that kept constantly hitting you. And I actually looked up gameplay for it the other day on YouTube. It's a simple pattern, and when you're a kid, you just don't realize that the games are throwing patterns at you. And I always got beat there. I played this game so much though when I was a kid, and it was this X-Men game and Barney that were really like the two games I played a ton early on in my life. The game itself, it's fine. It's fun. You can play as like Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Cyclops, Gambit. There's like some fun little boss fights in it and things like that. Never beat the game or anything like that. Has an awesome soundtrack that I can still hear in my head right now. It's one of those things that just it's one of those games I'm going to remember forever because it's seriously like one of the first 3 or 4 games I ever remember playing when I was a kid. And there was great co-op in it. It was kind of like an arcade style brawler. I could play it with my dad if I wanted to. It was cool like that. So we would both sit down and play X-Men pretty often. I liked it. It was fun. I was in love with the X-Men when I was a kid. And this led me to love the movies when I was growing up and things like that. So
I think I've always had this memory in my head of going to someone's house and playing some X-Men game. Seriously, like that's all I remember, playing an X-Men game in someone's house. I don't remember who. I don't remember when. All I remember is playing this X-Men game in someone's house and looking up pictures of this game. That was the game I remember playing. So I think...
Was it my house?
I think I was at your house as a kid and we were playing some X-Men game.
That's interesting.
Because I've never been able to associate that memory with a person. I just remember playing some X-Men game, some kid's birthday.
That was probably my house then.
That was probably your house.
Interesting.
That's so weird.
A missed connection.
Boom.
That is actually pretty weird. Yeah, I'm telling you, I played that game a ton. I could never really get past level 3, but I played it a lot.
I remember playing that game at someone's house.
Now that definitely makes sense. There was another X-Men game too.
It could have been. It could have been that. I mean,
it was definitely that one. If you would have played one, it would have definitely been that. I didn't get X-Men 2, the sequel, until a couple years later. There was one other X-Men game I remember, though, and this is just a short aside, and then we'll get to your number 10. Every time I went to the dentist when I was a kid, for some reason, they had a Super Nintendo in the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to go up to the counter and be like, can I see your game, the Super Nintendo games? And they had like Star Fox and Donkey Kong, things like that. And they also had an X-Men game there. And I was like, oh, X-Men, I like this. I always thought it was the same game that I had at my house. And I put it in, I was like, oh, for some reason, this is different. Obviously, it was a totally different game. But into my like 3 or 4-year-old brain, it was like, oh, this is the same game. This doesn't seem like the same game, though, for some reason. And whatever, I'll play this in the middle of a dentist office with a bunch of people waiting to get their teeth drilled on around me. Like, it was just funny. Like, it's when I looked up this list this week, I was remembering a bunch of old games like that. Like, oh yeah, I used to play games at the dentist office. That's kind of strange.
That's awesome.
So yeah, X-Men's number 10.
X-Men. All right, my number 10, Duck Hunt.
Duck Hunt,
mainly because
you like the character on Smash
NES games, because it was bundled with Super Mario Bros. It's also the first peripheral I remember using with CRTs, and you just point the gun right up against the TV and cheat, because I'm a filthy little cheater. The Duck Hunt was always cool. Duck Hunt was just this cool shoot ducks game. And I thought, now peripherals are everywhere. We have Guitar Hero, we have even the Wiimote or Kinect. Our bodies are peripherals now. But I know the Zapper wasn't the first peripheral, but I think it's safe to say it was one of the very first majorly popular ones, and Duck Hunt was a part of that, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
now he's a character in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been nice to see like a resurgence with. I wouldn't say a resurgence with Duck Hunt, but it's been nice to see like Smash Bros. Kind of
acknowledgement.
Yeah, the acknowledgement and making people like remember like, hey, this was a thing. Like this dumb dog wasn't like a titular character really, but this is a game from our history, and let's include it in this super popular modern day game. So yeah, I've liked that they've kind of gone back and reminded people about how important that game was at the time. So solid pick, Max. I don't think I've ever played Duck Hunt, for the record, like with the actual Zapper. I've only had hands-on time with the NES literally less than 10 times in my life.
Wow. Okay. I've played an NES more than that, but I've always played the same 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, if I ever played the games, if I ever played like the original Mario games that were on NES, I always played them on my Super Nintendo, because I had the Super Mario All-Stars collection where it was all.
You had that?
Yeah, I did. I'm not including that as like a game in this or anything.
That's so hard to come by, though, man.
Super Mario 1, 2.
Do you still have it?
Should, yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I always played. It had Super Mario 1, 2, 3, Super Mario World, and then the Lost Levels on it. So
that's the really rare one. The one that comes with World?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, that's always what I grew up playing. So yeah, all of my that's why it's weird in my brain when people are like, "Oh, Super Mario Bros. Is so great on NES." I'm like, "Wasn't that for SNES?" And there's like a disconnect there in my head because of how I always played it. So yeah. My number 9. Number 9. Donkey Kong Country. Gotta be honest, didn't know if I wanted to put this one on the list. The reason I did, though,
garage by 2 people.
Yeah, that's true. The reason I did put it on there, though, was because this was the first time I was ever exposed to a Super Nintendo. I had the Genesis, and my neighbor had a Super Nintendo, and I would go over there sometimes. and he had this thing set up in his room, and I was like, what is this? The weird part, and this is the weird part, this is what always tripped me out, was he had wireless controllers for the Super Nintendo. There was a wireless version of the Super Nintendo where you couldn't plug controllers into it anywhere. The whole system was wireless. Obviously the power cables and stuff like that, but the controllers were wireless, and you had to point them directly at the Super
I can imagine.
Yeah, it had to be like straight on for you to be able to play this game. So I would go over there and I'm like, what the freak is this thing? Why isn't there, where do I plug this in? And he's like, oh, there's not cords. We have to point it straight at that. And I'm like, all right, what are we going to play? He's like, I got this game. It's like Donkey Kong game. I'm like, okay, we'll play that. And like, I don't think we ever we played it. I wasn't ever allowed at his house very much. His parents like wouldn't let us in very often. They're like, no, go outside, go swim in a sewer or something. Like they wouldn't let us in very much. But the times I did go in there, I was like, oh, let's go play a stupid monkey game, man. And we would always play Donkey Kong. And I think at one point we found cheat codes for it to unlock every level. And we're like, oh, dude, let's go fight King K. Rool. And we did. Like I don't know. I've never played through the whole game. I played it later on a little bit more on the Game Boy Color, the port that they had there. I played through most if not all of the game on the Game Boy Color, but I mainly put it on this list because it was just like the first time I was ever exposed to a Super Nintendo, and reminds me of when I was a kid. So Donkey Kong Country.
I love Donkey Kong.
For the record, I don't think it's a great platformer. It's all right, little floaty, kind of janky. I don't know.
I love it. It's a great platform.
It's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Tropical Freeze?
No, I didn't. I played the original Donkey Kong. I played the original on Wii though.
Donkey Returns.
Yeah, I played that on the Wii.
Tropical Freeze is so hard. My number 9. Zelda.
Da 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 da. Which one? The original?
The original Zelda. The Legend of Zelda, the gold cartridge. And really, if I didn't play up to the third dungeon last year, I really don't think I would have put it on this list because I never really got far in that game. That game is totally open, like open world design, and it's hard. And it doesn't tell you where to go. It doesn't hold your hand, but it spawned this, this is what got the ball rolling for this incredible franchise that's getting a whole, afternoon dedicated to it for Nintendo's E3 this year. Like the legend was born here. And, I was just listening to Retronauts not too long ago. They did a Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 podcast. And that game really is super important as far as it was Nintendo's sort of fray into the RPG realm, but it took out most of the RPG things and kind of made it an action RPG. And it was one of the first games to ever feature saving because it was for the Famicom disk system in Japan. Like a lot of really cool things happened around this game because of the ambition behind it. And that's why I think Zelda is special.
It's one of those games I've always wanted to go back and play, and I just haven't. Spoilers, it's not on my list. I don't feel like I know how important it is, and I know, like you said, this game spawned tons of games afterward. I mean, not even just other Legend of Zelda games.
It's one of our favorite franchises.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite franchise ever. It's responsible for making countless other games or inspiring other people to make games. It's not on my list though. I've never played it. I have it on my 3DS. It's one of those games that I desperately want to get back and play. And I probably could. It's probably not very long, probably 3 or 4 hours if I had to guess, because those old NES games most of them were meant to be played in one sitting. And if you couldn't do it in one sitting, then you're out of luck.
You could save in this one. So
you could save in that one. But I know about
hard.
It is hard. It's hard for sure. I think I've beat the first temple.
I've done the first 3.
I've done the first one, and it's fun. I mean, I like it. I just again, I need to go back and play it at some point, and maybe I will now. Maybe that now that we've brought this up, it's one of like the main entry Zeldas. I think I've only never played
1 and 2.
The 1 and 2, yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's Oracle of Ages and Seasons, and then all the spin-off DS ones. But those are the only two in like the main series that I don't think I've ever played.
Console Zeldas.
Yeah, only console Zeldas I don't think I've ever played. So I definitely maybe that should be something I could do this summer. Now that we're in that lull, tie that in with Persona 4. Number 8 for me, another Sega Genesis game coming at you, Max. Well, to me it was Sega Genesis. Also arcade game. Like mini games back in the day, they would be ported from arcade consoles. NBA Jam. Boom shakalaka.
I played that at Disney Quest one time.
That game is so good. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. It's where you can
fire and stuff.
Yeah, where if you make multiple shots, oh no, he's on fire, and then you can start just shooting shots from anywhere, and they drop practically, and you dunk on like every point scored in the game is basically just dunking on someone viciously. 2-on-2 basketball. It's great. It's a ton of fun. I played it a lot when I was a kid. I had no idea who any of the players were. All I knew is that I really liked dunking on people. And basketball was probably the first sport I really loved when I was a kid. So when we had this on Genesis, I would put a lot of hours into it. And it was probably one of the first sports games I played too. Now that I think about it, I still love playing sports games now. NBA Jam was probably the first one that I put a decent amount of time into.
Sunk those hours in, just like you were sinking those shots.
Yeah, exactly. Just a lot of fun though. Great, fantastic arcade game. The 2-on-2 dynamic is really good. Like you would think that because it's basketball, you got to be 5 players on the court, but it's so quick and it's so versatile with 2 players, and eventually inspired the NBA Street games and still making them today. They came out with a newer version about 5 or 6 years ago on Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network, and I like that a lot. Very nostalgic when I played it. So NBA Jam's great. I love it. It's just stupid fun. It really is. And the announcer, so many great lines in that game, and so many great lines that I can't think of now, obviously.
Nice. But when you said the announcer was awesome, it reminded me of Pokemon Stadium announcer.
Yeah, I guarantee you, I don't know, maybe you're kind of sheltered. There's a ton of lines in that game that if I read them to you, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's okay. That's where that came from. So just
in NBA Jam?
Yeah, in NBA Jam.
Okay.
Because there would be an announcer just screaming the whole time in the background as he dunked on people. He's heating up. Yeah. I think if you made 3 shots in a row without the other team making 1, then you caught on fire and he just smashed it down people's throats. So pretty much no one could stop you. So
now you've got that dumb air horn stuck in my head.
Bow, 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 bow. Number 8, Max. What is your number 8?
Super Mario Brothers Uno.
Ooh, the first one.
The first one, and I put it on here because it is the first one. It's a pixel perfect platformer. It's pure mechanic and gameplay. Point A to point B, jump, hit enemies, go. And similar reason for putting Zelda on there, it spawned the franchise. Technically Mario was introduced in Donkey Kong in the arcade, which I'll talk about a little later, but Mario, Bowser, Princess Peach, all of this was established here. And it was, now we've get games like Super Mario 64 that changed 3D gaming forever. And, you get games that you like Sunshine or Galaxy, that really are truly special, all because this little Italian plumber has perfect jumping.
Well, not only that, it also spawned almost the entire genre of platforming. I mean, I think there was a couple games that may have come before it, but this was really the first one that spawned that. I mean, kind of like Zelda.
Popular. I mean, there's Pitfall and a few other games.
Yeah, but this was really the first one that Pitfall. You're right. Pitfall is probably the main one from back in the day, but Super Mario is just definitely up there. I mean, yeah, so many of these games back in the day were spawning everything that came after it, not only in its own series, but then other games themselves. So who knows where we would be without some of these games like Super Mario Bros. 1. And it's a fun game. The mechanics in it, it's just, they're still fantastic today. And that's what's amazing about that game. They're tight, and they're never going to get untight, because that game is really,
and it's staying here forever.
Yeah, most people would say that's probably the greatest game ever, and you really can't put. When you look at how it plays still today and how it holds up, and then you look at the impact it had on the industry, it really is one of the best games ever. So, and it's also not on my list. So,
boom,
no crossover so far, but maybe we will. Well, maybe some crossover on.
Oh, there will be crossover.
Number 7, lucky number 7, Super Metroid for me.
Ooh, interesting.
Played the game last year, enjoyed it back when we had our play and report segment. I enjoyed it. Fun game. Definitely liked seeing where the Metroidvania type things came from. Obviously, I know it wasn't the first one, but it's considered by many to be the best in the Metroidvania style games. I enjoyed it. It's fun. I liked it. Looking back on it, I don't know how much I loved it. It didn't leave a lasting impression on me like I thought it might, compared to something like Symphony of the Night, which I still think about how much I loved Symphony of the Night.
I've had the itch to play Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, I think Super Metroid's awesome, but I don't know. A lot of people I know would have that at number 1 on their list, and I definitely liked it, and I love the upgrade system in the game, and I love how you backtrack. Obviously, that's a Metroid thing, but it's a great game. But personally, I slotted at number 7 for me.
Number 7. My number 7. Pong. Pong is what started the arcade boom. It birthed the arcade games. There's many stories with that, but Nolan Bushnell and I'm blanking on the other Al Alcorn.
Yes,
those guys.
Yep.
That game birthed the arcades, and that cannot be understated how important that is.
Yeah, like I said earlier.
Pong is still a fun game to play. It's a pure gameplay, obviously. It's just paddle back and forth. It's quite the game. And the design into it is really cool. Like, the paddle is not one single surface. It's actually individual little blocks all pushed really close together.
Yeah.
And that's what bases the angle the ball bounces off on and the speed it's moving and all this stuff. It's actually a really cool way they designed and engineered the game.
Yeah, it's definitely like I said earlier, everything was a Pong clone for about 5 years, it seemed like. And even Pong was a ripoff of Tennis for Two. So everything for a while was just Pong. That's what it was, and a variation of Pong. Like you said, Bushnell and Alcorn were the first ones to kind of capitalize on it and make money off of it and turn it into their own thing. What's the dude who made the Odyssey, the Magnavox Odyssey? I think it was. I
can see him in my mind.
Baer, was it Ralph Baer?
Yes.
Yeah, Ralph Baer, kind of like the father of video games. He designed the Magnavox Odyssey, and that was really the first Pong. So you had Tennis for Two, and then you had Baer, who designed the Magnavox Odyssey, which was one of the first gaming consoles ever. And then pretty much every game on the Magnavox was a variant of Pong. And then eventually, a couple years down the road, Bushnell created Pong, the actual Pong. And Baer and them, they got into a huge dispute. I think Atari ended up owing Magnavox a ton of money. The money they were making, like, on a daily basis, they would pretty much immediately bleed out and owe to Magnavox because they blatantly ripped off Ralph Baer. So everything behind Pong is really interesting and definitely worthy of being on this list. But it's not on mine again. So
don't you worry, there will be crossover.
There will be. Number 6, Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man rules.
Miss Pac-Man.
Yes, Miss Pac-Man is superior to Pac-Man. The faster gameplay is way better. I love that game. We have there's a bar that opened in Indy that's like got a bunch of arcade machines in it. And I went there the other night to check it out, and they had a Miss Pac-Man machine in there, and I started playing that, and I forgot how good that game is. That game is so good. It really is.
It's on PS4 now. Has a platinum.
It is on PS4, and I actually kind of want to buy it because it's just a ton of fun. I mean, it's a simple mechanic, but that gameplay loop really doesn't get old, and they slowly ramp the difficulty to a point where you initially, I mean, you always feel like you're somewhat challenged throughout the game, but you can get through it. And then eventually later, when the power pellets only start turning the ghost blue for half a second or something like that, then it gets really challenging. You got to plan things out a little bit more ahead of time. Miss Pac-Man rules. It's one of those old school games where you play it to get the high score. And that's really something you don't see in games at all anymore. It was fun. Me and one of my friends, when we went to that bar the other night, he was playing and he's like, "Oh, dude, look at my run. I just got the high score on this machine." I was like, "Yeah, okay, move it over. I'm gonna break this." And I did. I broke it, and then he's like, "Okay, well, now I have to try to break this." And it was just that back and forth of trying to beat somebody else's high score and trying to one up them is something that's been lost. And it was really refreshing when I played it the other night. And again, the gameplay is so simple, just mazes and trying to collect all the pellets, but it doesn't get old. I've played that game countless hundreds of times in my life, and it has never gotten old. I love Miss Pac-Man, and it is better than Pac-Man simply because she's faster than him. I like it sped up a little bit.
My number 6 is Pac-Man.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I've never played Miss Pac-Man.
What? Really?
Yeah. No, I know about the history though. It is faster. It was like these guys that made it. It was hacked.
Yeah, it was it was like an American game. It was like it
was 3 new levels. Like there were different levels in Miss Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man originally had legs. Did you know that?
Believe that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I mean, part of her though. She has legs. But anyway, Pac-Man, same sort of thing you were talking about. It's the mechanic, that grind, chasing the high score. I love Pac-Man. Pac-Man's a lot of fun. I've never played Miss Pac-Man though, so I can't speak for that.
You should definitely play it because I'm telling you, the faster movement of Miss Pac-Man is a lot more fun than Pac-Man. They're both great games, don't get me wrong, but the fact that Miss Pac-Man moves faster really changes more than you would think. So
nice.
That's interesting. I'm glad we both slotted a variant of that game
at the same time.
Yeah. Number 5, getting into the top 5, and I'm wondering how we're doing on time here. Just out of curiosity, we're not doing too bad. Maybe try to move it along a little bit so we're not going too long. A game my mother did not like me playing when I was 4 years old, and probably the best fighting game ever, Mortal Kombat 2 on the Sega Genesis.
Dun 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 dun.
So I mentioned earlier how the Sega Genesis was my dad's, and he had some big boy games for himself, and then there was some little boy games for me, the Barneys and the games like that. Eventually, it got to a point where the lines were kind of blurring, and I was playing Mortal Kombat with my dad, and I was like 3 years old, and my mom wasn't digging that, but oh my gosh, that game rules. Mortal Kombat's, it's probably my favorite fighting game ever. Actually pretty low at 5, I guess, but everything above it is really a lot better.
Really good.
Yeah, I like everything else above.
Never played Mortal Kombat.
It's so good. The second one's so good. I love it so much. I wish I kind of want to plug my Genesis in right now and go play it. We actually had a gamepad for the Genesis that had like 3 extra buttons on it because there's the different forms of punching and kicking and stuff like that you would need for the fighting games.
Medium, high.
Yeah. So we actually went out and bought one of those, and that was the first time that we had really started getting into it. My dad was good at it back in the day, and I also loved trying to figure out the different combos. It was one of the first times I'd be like, oh, can we go on the internet and like download those lists where go onto the cable modem internet, the original AOL, and download the Mortal Kombat, download the Mortal Kombat moves list and the fatalities list. And so me and my dad would just we'd print off the list, and then we'd punch each other until we were dead. And my dad'd be like, "All right, hold on, stand really still, stand really still. Okay, I'm gonna do this." And then his dude would transform into a dragon and eat me in half. I'm like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" And of course, my mom's like, "Turn that game off." So,
oh mothers,
I was playing that game way too young, but it was awesome. I love it. So if I'm a little bit twisted today, that's why. Number 5, Max.
Buckle up.
Are we going on our
time for this one?
Okay.
2 stories, actually.
2 stories.
Number 5, Donkey Kong for the Coleco television, or Coleco in television.
Okay.
Let's hear Donkey Kong, the arcade game, ported to the Coleco system in television for a very particular reason. The first is the history of it, which this game completely changed the course of Nintendo as a company here in North America. Back a long time ago, I found the specific story so I'd get all my facts straight. In 1983, Nintendo had the Famicom out in Japan, but they wanted to enter the American market before Christmas of that year. But they had no presence in America besides like Donkey Kong. Like no one really knew who Nintendo was. So their way to enter the American market their plan was to team up with Atari. And Atari would get their name on the Atari would get their name on the NES, and they would help push this system that Christmas. It was actually going to be a super crazy awesome deal. Anyway, Atari CEO Ray Kasser they were like at some, I think E3, but not exactly E3. I don't remember the type of conference they were at, but the Nintendo and Atari were getting ready to meet. Mr. Yamauchi and Ray Kasser were meeting along with other executives at both companies to like work out the details of this deal to get basically the Atari Entertainment System here in America, the NES, but with Atari's name on it.
Yeah.
And on the way, walking to the meeting through the show floor, Ray Kasser saw the Coleco television, in television, not just a television, running Donkey Kong. And at the time, Atari had the rights to put Donkey Kong out, but only on floppy disks. And television uses cartridges. And so it was running. And so Ray Kasser went into the meeting furious and was like, "It's over. It's done. The deal's dead." And then Yamauchi started yelling at people in Nintendo, and they cut ties with Coleco, and they tried to patch up the deal, but it never fell through. But if that did not happen, then Nintendo would not have entered the market by themselves. And I mean, honestly, if the deal went through, it'd probably be called the Atari Wii U. Like
the Atari Wii U.
Everything would be different now if it wasn't for this Intellivision port of Donkey Kong on the show floor. Now, why that's important to me is 2 Christmases ago, my girlfriend Abby, her parents, they could be defined as hoarders, probably, but they hoard cool things, so I'm okay with it. They have a bunch of really old video game stuff. They have a working Commodore 64, an Atari 2600, and important to the story, they have an Intellivision. And they have a bunch of Intellivision games in the boxes. Not wrapped in shrink wrap, but they still have like the boxes for all these games. And they had Donkey Kong. And so I've hooked up Donkey Kong through an Intellivision to a tiny little CRT. And I've played a game that with hindsight has changed the history of the home consoles and Nintendo's presence here in North America. And I think that is such a really cool thing to actually play a part of history in the way it was presented at the time.
Yeah.
I just still can't believe that one little game on someone else's system.
How much hinged on one game.
Yeah. Just walking by it and seeing it on a competitor system changed everything. It's so cool. I love it.
I mean, it's really similar to the Sony Nintendo thing too. Like originally Sony was working with Nintendo to design a console with them or something.
The Super
like
Nintendo with the disc drive.
Yeah, and they were originally working together.
Up, late last year.
Yeah,
the prototype for it, which I would love to see that thing running.
Yeah, and that they said that's legitimate now too, because a bunch of people thought it was confirmed. A bunch of people thought it was sketchy at first, but yeah, that's been confirmed. Yeah, it's weird how a bunch of companies back then tried to go together and work together, and then they ended up splitting, and that's made all the difference in the gaming industry going forward. So that's actually a really interesting number 5, I'd say, to put on this list. Definitely 5. A cool one. Number 4. Super Mario World, the best Super Mario game.
Because you just said earlier you like Sunshine.
Well, I mean of the original 4 or 5 or whatever. Before they went 3-dimensional. Yeah, Super Mario World's great. It's the one that stood out to me when I had that All-Stars package. Obviously because it was the most recent one. But I also like the addition of Yoshi. I like the addition of a couple of the new mechanics, the cape. I like that. I like the different type of. It's got a different vibe to it than the rest of them do, if you know what I mean. Actually, those first 4 Mario games all have a pretty different feel to them, I would say.
Oh, they're all vastly different.
Yeah, I like the new enemy types. I like the traversing. I like the different areas in the game, the donut plains and the other places that for some reason I just spaced on all of them. It's definitely my favorite Mario game. I also like the sense of depth that the game had. It was the first Mario in the 16-bit graphics, so it obviously looked better. I like how everything had a little bit of depth to it too, though. More color, brighter. Super Mario Bros. 3 is kind of dull at times, almost like a bit orange looking or brown looking in a way. Are you freaking out?
Yes. You're
Why?
Blasphemous right now.
Maybe I'm forgetting it in my brain, but when I played Super Mario Bros. 3, I thought it looked kind of duller. Well, by comparison to Super Mario World, maybe that's why. But yeah, Super Mario World's probably my favorite one. I like the sense of depth everything has, which I know probably wasn't possible on the NES, but everything looks like it has a little bit more to it than just a flat panel or a flat enemy on a screen or something like that. So it's my favorite Mario game. Really liked it. Probably put the most time into that one. Again, favorite Mario game.
That is not on my list. I'll just tell you that now.
That's interesting.
Because I've played 2 levels of it. I've never dug into that game.
I mean, I've never beat it either, but I definitely
played it way more than I have.
I played it 2 or 3 worlds worth, or 2 or 3 whatever they're called, the acts or stages or whatever the big ones are. I think it's the worlds.
Islands.
Yeah, maybe it's the islands in that game. I don't know.
I have no idea, man.
But yeah, I like Super Mario World. Number 4.
You ready for a crossover?
Bring it.
Super Metroid.
Super Metroid. All right.
Super Metroid. I did not beat it like you did last year because I'm a failure. But Metroid is my favorite Nintendo franchise. There's just something about a lone, bounty hunter on a planet, getting upgrades, and just that sense of isolation and exploration and surviving. And I think it really conveys its atmosphere very well. I think it's a very good looking game. I do realize some of the complaints in hindsight of Samus is too big.
Yeah, that was one of the things I didn't like as well.
Her character model is very large. And that is, I see that complaint, but it's one that I can look past because of just how great that game and that franchise becomes. And I love Super Metroid. I don't want to beat this one to death too much since we've already talked about it, but yeah, Super Metroid is my number 4. It was also the first Super Nintendo game I bought physically. I
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought that with the instruction manual missing the cover page off a Goodwill bid. So I have that cartridge. It's the reason I fixed the Super Nintendo I had, replaced the motherboard. That game is the reason I even have a Super Nintendo.
Number 3. A game that I know is not on your list because you already said
it's a Genesis game.
No, it's not. But it's a game you said is not on your list, and that game is Galaga. Galaga freaking rules. Galaga's the best arcade game ever. Hands down. Boom. Unless, of course, we're talking about the Star Wars arcade game, in which case may need to think some things over. Galaga's my favorite old school arcade game, though, for sure. Yeah, I love it. I love the progression. I love the first time my dad was showing me the game. He's like, "Hey, you should let your ship get captured." I'm like, "Why the freak would I do that?" He's just trust me on this one. I'm like, "All right." And then he's like, "All right, see that up there? Shoot that down when it comes at you." And I'm like, "Okay." And oh my gosh, I've got 2 ships now. That's so cool. I love the bonus stages that they have. That was like the first time a game had ever done bonus stages like that. Fantastic. Again, it's all about the high scores, kind of like with Miss Pac-Man. How high can I get my score? How long can I last? There was a sense of progression in it too, because there was levels. Obviously, a bunch of games back then had levels, but it was more like Pac-Man eventually, I think, runs out of levels, or it's the same board over and over and over again.
Pac-Man is the same thing.
Pac-Man's eventually the same board over and over. Galaga, while it is similar, you could at least be like, I made it to level 17 or something like that. Like, it has like a firm number to it where you know how far you got. I love Galaga. It's the best arcade game ever. If I see a Galaga machine or a Miss Pac-Man machine for that matter, a lot of them are 2-in-1s. It seemed like they started making at some point. I always go out of my way to play them. I always like, oh, okay, I need to get some quarters real quick, because they're so rare to find, and really playing it on those old school arcade cabinets is just the best. They have a Galaga machine at that bar. Forgot how bad I am at that game.
You need to work on your skills, son.
Yeah, I used to have a port of it that was on the N64. It was like an old school arcade compilation on an N64, and I played it a lot on that. But yeah, I love Galaga. Best arcade game ever.
I love it. I want to apologize really quick in case you can hear this background noise. It sounds like my brother just came home and he's turned on the bathtub to do something. So
hey, Noah,
I apologize if you can hear that.
You're good.
Anyway,
number 3, Max.
You ready for more crossover?
Is it Donkey Kong Country?
Donkey Kong Country. Love Donkey Kong Country. It was a great platformer. Love it. It's absolutely great. It's an awesome looking game. The history behind this game is really cool. It's what started Rare, which
That's
is
true. That's
birthed
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah. I'm blanking on their shooter. What's their shooter?
Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark. Battletoads, actually, yes.
Yes.
Battletoads, yes. Everything's after this. This, Donkey Kong Country is like their beginning. Maybe not their very first game, but the one that launched them, made Rare this name. And they really drew out a lot of power from the Super Nintendo that even Nintendo didn't know like they could do. It really surprised Nintendo, and that's why they got to make the game. Some of the textures are like pictures or like based off the colors in like this garage warehouse they were working to get they were working in for the game. It's just such a cool game. It has such a cool history, and the way it's lived on, with its rebirth recently from Retro Studios as like the franchise of Donkey Kong platforming. It's really cool. It's a great game. I love it.
Yeah, I like it. I like the collectibles. I like the KONG on every level. I like the minecarts.
Minecart levels are the ones that rip your hair out, man.
I love those. I also like that you can ride the different animals. That was always fun to me.
Or become the different animals.
That's true. I never actually owned Donkey Kong Country. The one I owned was Donkey Kong Country 3, which was not a great game.
1 and 2. That's where it's at.
Yep. And I owned the worst one because it was like the cheapest, I think. Number 2.
Number two.
I know you haven't played for sure. I know you for sure haven't played this game. Favorite Sega Genesis game.
Okay.
A game very near and dear to my heart. A game that is superior to the Mario games. Sonic 2. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. See, I was a Genesis kid, so I grew up with the Sonics, and I remember when Sonic was good, and obviously it was like 16 years ago or something, but
it's like the 25th anniversary of Sonic right now.
Yeah, it's the old Sonic games, man. I'm telling you, those were Those were okay, so there was like a progression. I mentioned earlier that there was like 3 or 4 games I played when I was a kid. There was the X-Men game, which I mentioned.
Barney.
There was the Barney game.
Please do not forget Barney.
I won't forget Barney. And then there was Sonic. And Sonic, as soon as I learned how to work that was my jam. Sonic 2, when they introduced Tails, awesome. My favorite part was always trying to lose Tails, because if you ran too fast, Tails would fall behind. And then he would randomly descend from the sky and fly in and then start running behind you again. So my goal was always like, I got to get rid of this stupid fox thing that's following me. Sonic 2 is awesome. It's like one of my favorite platformers ever. Great game. Sonic 1's really good too. I debated, but I didn't want to put multiple games on the list. I could have put Sonic 1 probably ahead of a few things on here, but I just decided to go with one Sonic game and keep it simple. I really love Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's just I could gush about it for a while. Again, one of those earliest games that I can remember playing as a kid. I adore it. It's more probably a product of nostalgia now in my brain.
I'm pretty sure it's still a good game based off.
Yeah. Those first 3 or 4 Sonic games, and then Sonic and Knuckles. The first 3 Sonics and then Sonic and Knuckles were all pretty solid games, and then from there it started to get a little bit weird when they went into the 3D and things.
The only Sonic games, I mean, I've played some bad Sonic games. I played some good Sonic games, but like the core ones, like the traditional side scroll, run really fast, get to the end of the level type. The only ones I've ever played for that were Sonic Advance 1 through 3 on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get the chance, you really should play the original ones, because they are such good games. And people really do crap on Sonic a lot now, myself included. But it is one of those things I always remember, that Sonic was like one of the first games that, without Sonic, I don't know how much more I play games, because I just got so addicted to that. Oh, I gotta get through this level as fast as possible, and I like the Eggman was always at the end of the levels, and you have a small boss fight with him and things like that. Again, I could talk about it for a while. It's just one of those games that from the earliest part of my childhood that I remember playing, and it's up there purely because of that, I guess. Nostalgia's number 2 for Max.
A Link to the Past.
Oh, we almost had it there.
We almost did. A Link to the Past.
Okay, let's just get this over now. That's my number 1. So it's my favorite. I played it for the first time last year.
Love me some Link to the Past.
It's great.
It's a gorgeous game. It's a great game. It's what, I talked earlier with number 9 for myself, how Zelda spawned the actual franchise. A Link to the Past spawned the formula that we have today.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was the first time I think the Zelda games got really in depth.
Without A Link to the Past, we wouldn't have Ocarina of Time. And Ocarina of Time. Okay, so like if this was a house, A Link to the Past is like the foundation, and then
Legend of Zelda.
Zelda's the rock. Zelda's the rock.
Yeah,
Link to the Past is the foundation. And then Ocarina of Time is the house.
Is the structure.
And all the rooms are all the different games that have been built up from that. And A Link to the Past is a gorgeous game. Absolutely stunning. It's a grand adventure.
Fantastic soundtrack.
Without it, I wouldn't have one of my favorite Zelda games, A Link Between Worlds.
Yep.
Like it just the soundtrack, like you said, this game is so incredible. And tonight I might just go ahead and do it, but I want it on my 3DS because I love A Link Between Worlds, and that's a portable game. And having A Link to the Past now on a portable platform, I think would be awesome. I think I am going to do that because it's like $7.
Yeah, I've been debating with myself on that, and I maybe do the same thing.
This game is so good. It's a fantastic game.
It really is, and I think, like you said, the first Zelda was kind of the bare bones that had the initial formula, and then Zelda 2 kind of did a completely different thing, and Link to the Past really was the formation of everything that Zelda was afterwards. like you said, without that, Zelda as we know it is completely different. The entire structure of the game. Hey, again, a bunch of this goes back to the original, but the light and the dark world stuff was introduced in Link to the Past. The Master Sword, getting it out of the Grove, was introduced, I think, in Link to the Past. I don't think that's in the original.
Remember, that's where the Master Sword came from.
Yeah,
pulling it out.
Yeah, a bunch of the kind of the things with the patterns, like get these 3 things, and then after you get these 3 things, get these 6 other things. Yeah. That whole kind of thing. Themed. No, they've always had themed dungeons in the games. But yeah, Link to the Past, it really is. I was mad that I didn't play it earlier. When I played it last year, because we played it for a play and report segment. You can go back and way back into the old episodes and find the probably first 10 or 15 where we talk about Link to the Past and how good it is. I was really mad that I didn't play it sooner. I have it on Super Nintendo. My Super Nintendo kept wiping my save when I tried to play it a couple years ago. So I didn't get the chance to first actually play it until it was on the Virtual Console on Wii U.
On my Wii U. I think I did.
Yeah, you should, because that's where you bought it for Play and Report, I'm pretty sure. So it really is. It's my favorite. Max's second favorite. I can't say enough about the game. If you've got a Wii U, if you've got a 3DS for that matter, if you haven't played a Zelda before, I'd say that is just as good of an introduction to the series as, that should be the starting point, I think.
My first Zelda game, and we will get to this in a couple of weeks, my first Zelda game was Wind Waker. Well, that's a lie. The first Zelda game I beat and owned and dug into was Wind Waker. The first one I ever played was Link's Awakening. And that was because my grandmother owned it. But we'll talk all about that game and both those games when we get to those specific generations. I would just like everyone to know I'm looking it up on the eShop now. For those of you watching. I'm going to download the demo for that horse solitaire game.
Oh, good Lord. Before you download it, Max, what's your number 1? We got one left. What is it?
This is where I'm going to make everyone wait forever. Don't you know?
Please don't. Okay. We're already coming in at around 2 hours.
I know. Don't worry. I'm not. I shut the 3DS. You have my undivided attention. My number 1 game from this era we've selected. Super Mario Brothers 3.
Duh. You told me that. I don't know why I was thinking of something.
Why you're surprised. This game is gorgeous, stunning, creative, imaginative. This, it's what Super Mario Bros. 2 could have been, because Super Mario Bros. 2 in the States was just a rip of a different game with Mario skinned over the characters. Super Mario Bros. 3, if you look at NES game, if you look at the leap from 1 to 3, you can't even believe they're on the same system. It introduced the overworld map, which has been in a bajillion games since then. It's in Shovel Knight. I mean, this game is part of the inspiration for Shovel Knight, which is, gosh, an amazing game. Super Mario Bros. 3 has the Koopalings, the worlds.
I was going to say, don't forget the Koopa Kids.
The themes, like the themed worlds, the items. Like this is the Mario game, man. I love this game. And where I've played, as a kid, I played on other people's NESs. Girlfriend's parents actually have a boxed copy of it along with their NES. So, I flipped the instruction manual for that game for the first time a year or so ago. It's just something magical. But where I really played it was on the Game Boy Advance. When I bought my Game Boy Advance SP, that was the game I bought with it. It was Super Mario Brothers 3 for Advance or whatever. That
was a port.
And that was where I really dug into it. And sure, it looks a little better and runs smoother and had some differences on the Game Boy Advance, but it was the NES game. And I did play it there. I have played it on that system. It's one of those magical games that I can't shake. That is one that's changed the way I play games, the way I look at games, and it changed the industry too.
Yeah, it's most people consider it to be probably the best Mario game. At least of
the that or World. It's usually those, and then Galaxy. Like the 3 of those kind of just fight.
Yeah, most people I've seen even like a lot of people say it's the best game ever and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'd say consensus is that it usually is considered the best Mario game. When you're talking about just in terms of like strict like gameplay, I mean, I think even IGN gave it number 1 on their top 100 list they did last year, and that's IGN's like never done that, and that was a huge thing for them. And I think they said that Mario 3 was the best game ever.
Yep, they did.
Because I mean, it's a combination of we talked earlier about how Super Mario Bros. The original game was really influential and had that great gameplay. Mario Bros. 3 kind of did that all again when that released, and the gameplay was even better and had more items and things like that. I'm going to sneeze now. Hold on. Or maybe I won't. Dang it. Oh, I hate that. That's the worst feeling when you're like, oh, I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to no.
If I was going to sneeze, I would just hit my mute button, and then I would have sneezed.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't earlier, though. Mario Bros. 3, that's a great choice.
Oh, that was a cough.
The reason that wasn't on my list was because never really put too much time into that game. That was the one that didn't get any love on my Super Mario Bros. Super Mario All-Stars collection for some reason. I would always play the original one because that was the one my dad loved. I always played 2 because it was weird. And then I would always play Super Mario World because that was the one that I thought was pretty.
Because it's co-op. Wasn't 2 wasn't co-op, but it had all the characters.
I like that I could play as Toad. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to play as stupid Toad. Because I play as Toad whenever I get the chance.
You're a Toad fanatic.
Yeah, I didn't like 2 really, or 3 for some reason. I'm not obviously I've never gone back to play it, and I know it's not a bad game. But I'm saying when I was a kid and I did have it in my hands, it was the one that you should
get on your 3DS.
It was the one I never played. Is it on 3DS?
Mm-hmm. It should be.
I'll check. I'll check after this.
But I have it right here.
We'll check later. Let's wrap the show up.
No.
So that was our top 10. Max, you want to read yours off? I'll read mine off, and then you can read yours off. So from 10 to 1, my list is X-Men on Sega Genesis, Donkey Kong Country, NBA Jam on Genesis, Super Metroid, Miss Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat 2, Super Mario World, Galaga, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Max, what is yours?
Mine is Duck Hunt, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers 1, Pong, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, specifically in television, Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and Super Mario Brothers 3 coming in hot at number 1. And
that's it for week 1.
That's week 1, all in a nutshell.
Took a little longer than I thought it would. I can't imagine how much we're going to talk about the games we know about.
Yeah, the games we actually do know about, the ones we're knowledgeable people on.
Yeah, get ready for some rants about those in the coming weeks. We may have to totally just get news down to nothing. Obviously not next week.
These might have to be their own episodes. These might have to be specials.
Maybe they could. So maybe they could just be the whole episode. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Me and Max will talk about it. Maybe we could do an E3 predictions episode that's a one-off, and then maybe episode 44 could be just this entire top 10 list.
It is on the 3DS for a whopping $5.
I'll have to check it out. Maybe I'll grab it.
Gosh, it's up for $5.
Anywho.
Oh, now I want it. Darn it. I shouldn't have looked that up.
Shut the DS, Max. Shut the DS. That's it for week 1 of our favorite games segment.
His little raccoon tail.
The raccoon. That is a good point.
Yeah, this was flying before the cape. This was cool.
That's it for
made flying cool.
Let me close. I gotta close.
Oh, I don't want you to. I'm gonna be here forever.
Oh, this is gonna be a really big.
All right, go.
Wow.
It is gonna be big.
Oh my gosh. That's it for week 1 of. That's it for week 1 of our favorite games segment. We've counted down our 10 favorite games from the old systems, from NES to Sega Genesis. Next week, it will be to prepare yourself at home to create your own top 10 list. We're going to cover the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, and the Dreamcast, even though I don't. We'll throw that in. That's in the mix. If you want to make your own list at home and you've got a bunch of Dreamcast games, go ahead and throw them in the mix. But I haven't ever played a Dreamcast, really, except for demos at the store. So those are our games next week, or those are our systems next week that we will be covering. New top 10 lists coming at you. May just do an entire episode like this next time, and then do an E3 predictions episode as a one-off. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Just stay tuned to your RSS feeds, and if you're subscribe on iTunes. Just you'll see however we decide to do it, and also you can follow us.
Clearly labeled.
Yes, it will be clearly labeled, and we will tell you about it on our Twitter, which is at MGS Podcast on the Twitters. You can follow me.
Those segues coming in hot.
You can follow me on Twitter at Moreman12. You can follow Max on Twitter at MaxTheWhite. You can email us at mgspodcast@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have. Also, email us your top 10 list from this this generation that we did today. Let us know what your top 10 favorites are. Or you can email us ahead of time for next week's episode and tell us what your top 10 favorite N64, PlayStation 1, and Dreamcast, and Game Boy Color games are. So, yeah, get a head start. Let us know what your favorites are on that. We seriously would love to hear from you. I say that every week. We would love to hear from you. Email us. Take the time.
Oh my
I'm looking at the inbox.
The list is already populating itself in my mind.
I'm hitting the refresh button. Email us.
And now we have, predictions. So many lists, Logan. Lists.
Lists. It's going to be the next couple of weeks.
Our BuzzFeed.
I'm going to go on a limb and say that we're going to do an E3 predictions episode as its own thing. And episode 44 will be this list next week.
Probably.
But maybe me and Max
will. That makes the most sense. Because
that makes the most sense.
They're two separate things, and honestly,
that would be
our
such a long.
Is probably going to be wild.
That would be such a long episode, and I hate having to have people scrub through the episodes to get to the point where we do start the top 10 lists, or I don't know. Yeah, so we'll probably do that if you're still listening to us at this point in this 2 hour and 15-minute long episode. We're going to wrap up, though. We will be back next week. Me and Max have a bunch of lists to make. We expect 2 new episodes next week. Probably a whole bunch of stuff's going to be going on. Expect maybe like 7 or 8 new episodes in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Because we're going to be E3 coverage.
We'll have our E3 coverage where I'm sure we'll have a Microsoft one, a Sony one, and then we don't know what we're going to do with the third parties yet. Plus, we'll have a numbered episode that week. We're going to be busy. We're going to have a lot going on. So, yeah. Get ready. Subscribe on iTunes. Look us up on SoundCloud. Check that RSS feed. It'll all be up there. We are renewing our SoundCloud account, so it'll all be up there.
You must listen to us.
Yes, we've got a bunch of stuff coming down the pipe. We really do. This is our busy time of the year, and we've only made it even more busy by doing a top 10 list. But I think these are fun, and I really enjoyed that today, and I hope you did too, Max, and I hope the listener enjoyed it as well. I think I'm going to sneeze again. I hope I don't sneeze. Nope, I'm going to be fine again. Okay, let's just close. Thanks for listening, everybody, this week. This has been episode 43. Remember, do not threaten to kill people. That's not a nice thing to do. And we will see you back here next week with episode 44, which is most likely just going to be a top 10 list episode. So join us for that.
Please do.
Follow us on the Twitters if you want to stay updated. And other than that, have a good night, everybody, or a good day, or whenever you're listening to this. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Boom. Huge episode.
Yeah, that's going to be big.
Episode 43, Max.
Oh, my gosh. It never recorded.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Dear God, don't scare me like that. Don't scare me.
Bye, YouTube. Bye, Kevin.
Bye. Yes, bye, Kevin.